So a high schooler has asked, how does he explain to his friends why Christians obey some commands in the Bible and don't obey other commands? Okay, let's unpack this a little bit so that we can answer this for our friends who are wondering about this. Number one, we need to make a distinction between kind of the moral values and moral principles that Scripture affirms and the specific moral rules or commands. Okay, so for instance, there are plenty of rules and laws today that I don't obey, that other people do obey, namely the laws of another land. So in the United States, I'm supposed to drive on the right side of the road, right? I don't drive on the left side of the road. But if I were in Great Britain, I'd be driving on the left side of the road. Now, they're a different rule, right? And I'm not obligated to obey that rule. I've got my rule. But the same moral principle is kind of, undergirding both. It's kind of the value is the protection of innocent life. And so that's why we have these laws about what side of the road you're supposed to drive on. But they get expressed differently in different contexts. And so that's key. And so not every rule that's given is given to me. Not every rule in the Bible is given to Christians. So in the Old Testament, we have rules that are given to the nation of Israel that are for the nation of Israel in that particular context, in that particular time, that don't apply to us. Now, there may be similar moral principles or moral values that undergird those, and so we'd say that those moral values are universal, but we wouldn't say that the expression of each value, the particular law in the particular context, is something that we're all obligated to. And so you just have to, think through these kind of carefully. Here's another instance where we need to look at the context. And so the example was mentioned, what about women who, in the New Testament, women covering their heads? Well, again, we look at the context. The context there is, a first century Judaism, and so covering the head was a sign of submission. Okay, so as we start looking at what Paul says in 1 Corinthians there about women covering their head, we realize it's an issue not of just women. It's not just this rule, hey, cover your head, women, period. No, there's a value underneath. It's the idea of being submissive to the leadership of one's husband, okay? And so that's not expressed today in women covering their head. So the principle is still there, but the expression, how that rule plays out, is different. And so that's why Christians don't just kind of carefully pick and choose whatever they want. No, we look at these things in their context, and that helps us to inform what things we need to follow today, what values, what moral laws are for us today.